Hello, everybody. Hopefully, you guys have a wonderful week. Today is already Thursday. You know what that means. Party time. I know. CJ, it's not until Friday, but it's pre Friday party here at Level Up Circle TV. Remember, guys, when you are in my show for Thursdays and Sundays, you will be in Amazon Fire TV, in Apple iOS, Roku channel, Apple TV, on your cell phone, my YouTube, Android, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. You are everywhere, right? And I wanted to let you know I just got my stats on my TV, and we are pushing almost 250,000 downloads of hours for the TV show and about 3 million impressions a month in our YouTube channel. And I'm still asking for your subscription. Share, because we are trying to hit 100,000 by December. Can we do it? I don't know. I can't do it alone. I need your help. So if you have been in our TV show, in our free live streams on Wednesday, please share the YouTube, subscribe, and like. That is my ask. And thank you guys so much. Now, I have some amazing. Remember, I told you last week that I will revamp my Level Up Academy program. We'll have a program director for each of the programs, like book publishing and authorship. I'll still be working with Susanna, but she will lead that program. Then we will have wellness, and I'm still looking for a program director on our wellness area. So you will be working in that area. And then I am also going to be doing the podcasting, which I will be giving you guys a glimpse today. I just created the program. It took me 5 hours to put it together last night. I've had the structure in my head for months now, so I just put it together. It's on Amazon. It's not available yet. I'm perfecting it, but I'm so excited because I'm using that journal book that I'm putting together to help with my students in the program. There are 3 tiers, and I will go over on that detail today a little bit. But you have to apply. Not everyone can actually get in on this one. But if you are a Hounds member, guess what? Part of your benefits with my brother from another mister, this guy right here, you see that? That little look over there? Yeah, that brother. So if you're not in the Hounds of Business community, please apply to be in it. And then if you are in the Hounds, you automatically get into the podcast circuit on the free membership, right? And what I'm trying to do literally is to help individuals who are wanting to know how to do marketing for their business. If you are a businesspreneur, entrepreneur, and you have no budget for marketing, marketing is the most valuable assets that you have for your business, but it's also sometimes 70% of your budget is marketing, because it doesn't matter how good you are and what you're doing. If no one knows who you are, you're literally in the corner with dust. Think about the books, the amazing books that you have in your bookshelf, but you haven't read it. It's collecting dust. That's literally you. Imagine yourself, that's you. You have an amazing skills, mad skills, in fact, but no one knows who you are. So what do? You what? Create authority by being everywhere, but you have to pay to play, right? And so imagine if you can actually do your own marketing in podcasting. You actually will reach global network. I charge $500 for a 60-second video on my podcast, right? Because I have 500,000 downloads a month, and I also am in 120 plus countries, and I'm a top 10% podcasters in the world. So that's why I can charge what I charge. But if you do it in your own, you don't have to get charged other than your monthly platform. That is what I am trying to do, right? I am trying to do in a podcast circuit. So if you're already in the house, come on in for free membership. That means what? I don't know. Let's go in detail on that one. So Mike and I are always looking for an ambassador for HOB, and just talk to the bro, right? In terms of what you actually needing. I have good news for you guys. Sandra, myself, and Dr. Dreyer actually have an in-person in San Diego activity on October 19th, so you can meet us. I'll have a giveaway. If you come in person, I will give a giveaway. Right now, there is a discount code. So if you're a veterans, just type veteran. I think it's veteran or veterans. Try those coupon code. I believe it's 29, almost 30% off. And then if you are not a veteran, just type level up. Level up will get you that 29% off as well for your ticket. So if you're in San Diego, come on in. This is the best networking ever. And I'll be giving away my book, signed and delivered, signed, sealed, and wait, isn't that music? Signed, sealed, and delivered. Or maybe I'm making things up. I don't know. But that I will be doing with my book. And Sandra Gonzalez is an amazing sister from another mister. Our book, Rebel with a Cause, is coming out this week. Remember, guys, all proceeds. It's actually going to be on sale for $11. There is no proceeds on that. That's like the minimum amount that Amazon need. So I don't get money from that at all. But we are more concerned about the impact and legacy that each of my co-authors has done so with heart and sweat and blood and tears, writing their anthology for Rebel with a Cause, right? We're not just an anthology, we are creating a movement. And so what we're doing is that we're going to actually bump that up to $15 by Monday, and the money goes to mental health for Jessica's nonprofit organization. And we lost our sister, dear Jessica Harvey, about a month and a half ago. So that is why we're dedicating that book for her. And these amazing souls right here are all the co-authors of our anthology. Susanna is going to have a lead again on our anthology. So if you want to be part of Level Up Academy's anthology, we will have another one starting about October next month. So make sure to keep in touch with us. We also give away scholarships for our anthology. So make sure you kind of stay tuned if you're not subscribed to Susanna or myself. Now, this is my good news before I bring in Dr. Manley. Are you guys excited? Okay, first of all, you have to apply because I have limited seats. I can't have everybody in. I wish I could, but I can't. I am only one person. So I have very, very limited seats. Even if you're in the hounds right now, I have a very limited seats, guys. The reason for that is because, again, I cannot have everybody in there. But what I can tell you is that I created a book, more like a journal, so that you can walk through, if you don't want to be part of our members crew, you can walk through your podcasting journey. It's called Mike to Millions, the ultimate guide to starting your podcast with impact, right? By Level Up Academy. So in this book, there's over 100 pages. There's going to be notes, there's going to be journals, there's prompts, there's exercise, there's membership information. I'm also going to tell you the top 10 AI tools for podcasting, the platform that has worldwide reach. And in the class, I will use this book, but I also will go in details the technical aspect of how to connect. Because think about it, you have everything and now you have all the equipment. How do you connect this mic to this computer to this mic? What if you're traveling and you want to interview someone? What kind of equipment do you have? What kind of equipment do you need to get going quick and fast? I have those, right? I have those because I've tested. You don't have any idea how many mic booms and what do you call this, microphones that I have in here. So I have all of that information. So we will start our class October, and I have 3 tiers. One is free, right? If you're in the hounds, you can get into that one. And I'll give you tips for 15 minutes and you'll be in a hot seat for 15 minutes. It's only a 30-minute Zoom once a month. If you are in our membership, we have 2 tiers for membership. One is a pro, and then one is elite. And the elite will have, get this, you can be on TV as a host and I will be your producer. So you know how to live stream, take that live stream and streamline it and boom, put it on your podcast, right? And I will teach you to push a button to be in like 15 distribution channels just like that. And if you already have a podcast, I know somebody in the house who already have a podcast for, oh, I don't know, a year or maybe more, and it's only on 3 countries. Why is that? Because you don't know what you don't know. I'm going to help you scale up, right? And sustain it. Here's the good news. When you have enough downloads, you can now start monetizing your podcast too while you're marketing and advertising. What? Right? So that's what going to be the membership to this podcast. So I'm going to leave it there. But while I'm leaving it there, I want to tell you about my brother Russ. We need help. October 5th and 6th, he's going to New York or wants to go to New York, and he's looking for sponsors for $150. You're not only helping him, but you're helping other people. Stay inspired, stay focused, and be inspirational to others on their cancer journey. So please help out. Even if you can't pay the $150, share, share, share. Sharing is caring, guys. All right, are you guys ready? I'm so excited for Dr. Manley. All right, so first of all, this is my promise to him. I'm hoping that I can do him justice. So I think this is Dr. Manley I'm writing. You are an inspirational speaker, educator, and information magnet, specializing in STEM careers, academia, workforce diversity, clinical trials, health equity, and mentorship. With over 20 years of experience as a mechanical engineer, biomedical engineer, and molecular and cell biologist, your expertise spans musculoskeletal biology, biomechanics, and cancer biology. Now, your transition into the nonprofit sector where you've been involved in strategy, STEM outreach and grant administration, and also mentoring. Currently, you are the founder and CEO of the STEM and Cancer Health Equity Foundation, now which focuses on increasing diversity in STEM fields and improving outcomes for underserved cancer patients. There's a lot of us out there. Now, your work address health equity for low income, first generation, and minorities populations. You are also involved in research partnership and advocacy with a recent focus on lung cancer care disparities. Now, you hold advisory roles on national initiatives like the National Lung Cancer Roundtable and the PCORI Healthcare Delivery and Disparities Research Panel. That's great. That's so amazing, right? Now, he's recognized for his impact. You have been named to Forbes Black and Cell Mentors 1000 Inspiring Black Scientists in America, and have been featured in Authority Magazine and the Research Evangelist podcast. Now, Level Up podcast. We're leveling up. And guys, he is one of our leaders who's transformative leaders. He's going to be in our Level Up Circle magazine this quarter. Are you guys ready to meet him? I know I am. Hello, Dr. Manley.
Hello, how are you?
I am great so far right now. Thank you, YouTube. We're hitting 500 live watchers. Thank you guys so much for being here. All right, so did I do justice?
You did pretty good. You pretty much nailed it. PCORI is the Patient Centered Outcomes Research Institute. So if you didn't know that, yeah, no, you would not normally know that, but you pretty much nailed the rest of it. And I would just say I've done a lot of work in lung in the past, and so it's just still really focusing on lung as the initial thing that we do with the nonprofit, but we still do other cancers. But our focus is lung. So that's all. But otherwise, great job. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and able to chat with you today, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yes, so let's start with who is Dr. Manley? Can you think back about 20 years? Kind of give us like maybe two timelines that got you here where you are today.
Ooh, 20 years ago. That was when I just started my PhD. So do we want to go from there?
Yeah.
So if we just look back at the PhD, really did some difficult projects, and then as I transitioned through the nonprofit, through the postdoctoral fellowships, we just did a lot of work in lung cancer, breast cancer, arsenic-induced carcinogenesis, and just trying to look at different enzymes and genes and proteins that impact cancer growth and invasion and metastasis, and ways to try to characterize how these things grow. We also looked at ways of inhibiting metastasis and looked at changes. I'm trying to not be technical. We try to look at how tumors change during tumor progression or in response to therapy by using molecular imaging to look at cells under the microscope and try to characterize the changes with some image analysis. So I'm trying to keep it as simple as I can without losing everyone.
Well, that's the beauty, right? I've learned in public speaking and I mentor presenters, especially veterans, is that when you're working in your job, you're so used to having cutting things into words and pieces. And when you're talking about picori or things like that, if no one knows about that and you know it by heart because you work on it, what's the point of presenting it to somebody who doesn't know it if you can't define it, right? So the presentation, people's like, oh yeah, it's so easy to do presentation, and I said it is, but to make it perfect is not so easy, because you got to look at your audience and know who your audience are so they can understand and you can influence them to have a buy-in on what you're saying. So for you to be aware that way, amazing. Now, how do we go from bioengineering to nonprofit? Walk me through that.
So, broadly, even before we got to the bioengineering, I was a mechanical engineer and then a biomedical engineer, then a molecular and cell biologist. But my brain is wired rather differently. So I think of things from engineering sort of as a systems, how things move and operate. And then biology, you look at sort of how things don't work or function well and what can you do to repair them. And so what ended up happening was I was in the labs doing a lot of work, and I finally got frustrated at being underpaid. And uh, with a PhD, then 7 years in postdoc, and you're like, I can't keep doing this. And because you move for every position, and then you have to pay rent and a security deposit, and you say, okay, I need to get off this train. And what I did learn is the longer you postdoc, the harder it is to get into pharma. And part of the reason, and a lot of people don't know this, is even though you have a PhD, if you go to academia and do a postdoc, those don't count as professional years. So you still are working, but those don't count for professional years. So when you apply, if you get a job, you still go in as a scientist one. But I finally ended up getting a position at the American Association for Cancer Research in the foundation to do biotech and pharma fundraising. And that was kind of a natural segue for me because of my 20 plus years in the lab, I kind of knew the lay of the land of the biology companies, the device companies, the imaging companies. So I was able to really leverage that inherent knowledge to really bring in different partnerships and funders.
Now, why start nonprofit? What was the beginning thought? Like, I'm going to start nonprofit for minorities and underserved.
That was never the intention. It's just as I went from AACR to Lung Cancer Research Foundation to longevity, doing different leadership roles and capabilities, I continue to see that we still aren't getting a lot of directed programs for diverse and underserved populations. We say we want diverse scholars, but then we don't really give them the tools or skills to succeed, or we don't give them the assistance, or we don't help them write their grants. And they're already overcoming so much to be in these spaces. So we have to really think, can we actively do things to make sure they know what degree paths they can take, what career paths they can take, so they're more prepared to go wherever it best suits them. The other thing is, as I progressed, I started talking to some patients with specifically lung cancer and some public health researchers, and they lamented that there's really not a lot of information and resources that reflect their lived experience, their lives, their needs. And since my training is in lung cancer, I said, well, let's just go work on really developing out the information and resources to help them feel seen and heard and acknowledged, and eventually building up the community for them, which is coming down the road.
Wow. It isn't it always amazing when you are set for something and then you pivot and change. I've done that, I think, so many times in the last year alone. And then you actually figure out and you sit down, you're like, it looks like it was meant to be that way, right? It looks like it's meant to be that way when you're not really thinking about it. It's that power. Now, this is my next question. Can you share some of the key barriers you've seen underrepresented groups face in both STEM careers and healthcare, and how your foundation is addressing those challenges.
So if we first look at STEM, just getting into STEM careers. Sometimes we talk about there's a leaky pipeline and that we don't have a pipeline of diverse scholars. But if you look at some of the data, I can't remember the name of the report. I think it was a National Science Foundation's Minorities, Women in STEM report, and they showed that Black Hispanics are still getting the undergrad degrees in biology at a decent rate. They're increasing, but we just have this drop once you get to the grad school. So the Hispanic students are still getting PhDs and they're increasing, but the number of blacks is still sort of plateauing, and the number of American Indians has just always been low. But it's not so much the pipeline is as you go through these degrees, you learn a lot of frustrating things, and that you may not get the mentoring you want or expect, or you still have to fit in a certain way to get your next letter of recommendation, and then you learn that you may not necessarily be able to say what is really on your mind, because sometimes the things you say can and will be used against you. So you still have to work within the systems to make sure you excel. But if we go back even further, there were a couple of Pew reports that even said that often many Black and Latino kids finish high school still not seeing anyone that looks like them in STEM or a STEM field. And so if you project this back even further, that means if you don't see anyone in these spaces, then you don't even know you can do it. So then you don't think about it. But as I grew up in inner city Detroit, we didn't have many people around me, but I was doggedly determined because I grew up as a chronic asthmatic. My father was a heavy smoker, and I was in the hospital probably 20 to 30 times a year just with my asthma. But what I did get was appreciation for the medical system. But if we really want to start working on getting more kids to know they can go into STEM, we probably need to start thinking around engaging around the third grade, because that's about the time where kids sort of, they might always pay attention, but at least they're receptive to things. And then you can foster an interest in those that want to do it. And then if you keep working with them, then you have more that are excited about it. And if they see people that look like them, then they're more likely to know they can do it. It's just when they don't see themselves represented and then they try to go into space, it's harder, because then the further you go along your degrees from undergrad to grad to postdoc, it gets less and less diverse. The awardees for grants get less and less diverse. So it becomes ultimately frustrating. And similarly, these things happen in healthcare where you still can get your degrees, but we still have a healthcare workforce that is not diverse. They often don't reflect the patients with the greatest disease rates. If you look at the staff, the boards, the leadership, it doesn't reflect these populations. And then you're trying to go and do a trial, but they would see, well, I don't see anyone that looks like me, so why should I trust you? And similarly, often in industry, you still have to work within the system you're in. You can't really strive to do as much for underserved communities as you might like, because at a root level, large systems are still very slow to change unless there's some financial incentive. And that's just how it is. And so, what we're really long term going to do is work on getting kids exposed to STEM at early ages and nurture and help them then navigate the way to get into college and navigate those degrees. And also, as we get more of those that are aware of how to get in the workforce, hopefully have them then on the side where they're able to advocate for research for these underserved populations, um, advocate for funding for this work, and then hopefully have more representation, so it's not just one person trying to um, bring about change for all, but have collectively a critical mass, which we just do not have.
Yeah, so I actually read, I used to do engineering, so I taught robotics. I fly drones. I love to tinker and take them apart. Don't ask me why. So I'm always reading the STEM education guide. I don't know if you like, it's stemeducationguide.com. And basically, I look at the percentage of demographics, right? Like African American students earn about 7% of all STEM bachelor's degree and underrepresented in the fields like math and physical science. So 3 to 4% earning their master's and doctoral degrees in these areas, and they earn about 9% of bachelor degrees in computer science. So we're not even hitting 10% at all, right? Not even 5% on that doctoral program. Now, Hispanic students represent about 10% of STEM, which is a little bit more than African Americans. And then master's degree about 9 to 10%. And then, of course, Asian students are over presented in STEM fields. They have about 11% of STEM related degrees from bachelor's to master's and doctoral levels. So, and then Caucasian students comprise of the majority of the STEM degree recipients, especially in the doctoral level, where they earn about 63 to 67% of all research doctorates in STEM. 67%. We're not even hitting, we barely hit 10% on Hispanic students, but then even in STEM fields where Asians are dominating, we only have 11% of those related degrees, right? So there's definitely, I believe, more of a disparity. So I'm glad that you're actually talking about this because it's super important. Now, my next question goes with that. Is the how can mentoring programs like the ones you've developed make a lasting impact on first generation and minority students in STEM fields?
So thank you for the question. Um, no guarantee that the program I created in the past will work. I mean, we I built the program at my previous employer based on the experience that I and many diverse scholars faced navigating these STEM fields and sort of navigating, when do you speak up? How do you find your community? But the important thing is you have to really build in multiple layers of mentors. I think that's critical. You would like to have someone that has a more regular mentor they speak to monthly, maybe a mentor they speak to quarterly, just sort of as a grant administrator, making sure they're in a place that's going to allow them to grow and flourish. And then you want their more senior faculty to help them more either on their grant writing or their professional development. And I think these mentors don't necessarily have to be the people you work in the lab for, because sometimes that is often the source of your inhibition. So we're really thinking about holistically what the students need and then trying to provide those kind of training or resources. So I think not just about grant writing, but I think about the other professional life and career skills you need. Because specifically, when you're a first gen or minoritized scholar, you often don't know about financial planning, financial literacy. Um, you don't know about writing letters of reference. So trying to make sure we bring in these other pieces so that they are more complete and prepared to go into these spaces, but also thinking about making sure they know about the alternative career paths. And this, you can start from this as early as high school. So even early, they need to know there are different degrees or different paths they can take. And then they need to understand once you're an undergrad, yes, there's grad school, there's postdoc, there's MBAs, but understand where these degrees are, but also what you can do with these degrees. Often we don't teach these people what your options are. So you just often get tracked into one thing, and then you may be really great at something else and you don't even know it's available. So I really try to understand where they're coming from, but I will talk about nonprofit, pharma, government, consulting, science, writing, communication. These are all things you can do with a degree. Some may require an advanced degree, but you can still do them, but you just don't even know these jobs exist. And then it's just
We need
about
to have that. We need to have that conversation more. I think you and I will have our own series of if you have this degree, what are some of the jobs that you can take? Because I do mentor my students, but you're right. In most colleges, right? I have 4 degrees now. I'm trying to do double doctorate actually.
see, you have more than me. So you have more than me now. So I
I
should be interviewing you.
I'm going to do fifth one, I think, a PhD in psychology. I love neuromarketing. But I want to basically look at it as something that people should do. Like Mike will tell you he has a lot of degrees, but he doesn't really use them. Well, he does in a way. Like people, you don't understand if you get your degrees, you're actually using them. It might not be a capacity of what you want. Like, for example, if you have a liberal arts degree, that's the easiest degree ever, right? It's very general, but also don't get much respect in the corporate world when you have a liberal arts degree. But you might have a liberal arts degree, but you're actually really good at networking. That's not a degree you can have, right? That is soft skills. And that's what I want for Level Up Academy is to create programs where you already have the skills, the mad skills that you need, but you just don't know how to activate them because you just don't know. And so we need to be able to give you the tools to activate what you have paid for, blood, sweat, and tears and sacrifices. God knows mine was difficult, especially my doctoral degree, because I was in the middle of cancer at that time. But I think that people need to know what are some of those things that are available out there. And for me, I was determined. I put myself to school. No one paid. My parents didn't pay. My mom actually got her bachelor's after I got my master's degree. She got motivated, right? My dad, he's dyslexic, so he's like, I'm not doing school. It's not happening. But he was a business. He actually do a Heidelberg, I think it's what it's called. It's a $2 million or $5 million machine that does printing for books.
Ah,
And he knows technical stuff. He never went to school. He just has the mad skills, right? But that's the thing. It's like we just put some the society, I don't say me, you and I as in we as in the society puts people down in this little box if you don't have a degree. And some of them are really like super genius level. It's just they have other things in their life that a prevented them, b they can't do it because it's just hard for them, they don't have a mentor, right? It's not in their culture. And I think culture has something to do with people who are good at degrees. Like think about all the Asians who have all the degrees and we have the highest numbers, right? In terms of that, it's because it's embedded in our culture. It's like breathing, right? It's you get shame if you don't get a bachelor's degree, literally, in our culture, right? And now I think a minimum for our culture to be even talked to in the higher ups is, do you have an MBA? That's like your ticket to get into conversations. It's really sad, but it's cultural, right? And I think we need to create a different culture if we want kids. They don't need to have all of these degrees
yep.
to do magic in their life, but you need certain skills. Like I've seen people who are really good, but they do lack the knowledge. So when they're coming into that room full of MIT and Harvard people, you feel less than, even though you're smart because you don't have that degree. But imagine if you have the confidence because you read, you research, you literally, I know somebody who's super genius goes against a medical doctor's paid $1.2 million and he can rebuttal that doctor left and right? It's because he's well read. He doesn't have a formal degree, but he's well read. I want to breed more people like that, right? And so that's what I want for our community. Now, let's talk about what's coming up for you in terms of what your program is and what can we do to help you.
All right. So before I jump to that, I want to also mention we often talk about STEM degrees, but there's another component of this is that sometimes people don't even need to go to college. Like, when I finished high school, somewhere in the 1900s, we're not going to say when, but when I finished high school, we still were talking a lot about Votech and trade schools, and somehow in the middle to late 90s it became this whole push that everybody had to go to college, everybody had to do a degree, and then if you didn't have one you couldn't get a job. But there are plenty of good jobs with trade school workshop that you could do, but we just somehow de-emphasize that, and I think we need to have people with the skills for all the jobs we need, not just the ones that supposedly require degrees. And so I think we need to be more robust and more reflective as we develop this stuff. Now, as you asked about the things that we will have coming up, there are really two big things, and maybe a third if we have time. It may not happen until next year. The one major thing we're working on, I do a lot of work in lung, and I know I've done a lot of work about disparities and lack of representation across cell lines, but we really still don't have a core event for diverse and underserved populations. So we are holding our second annual health lung cancer health equity summit in Atlanta, November 18th and 19th. Technically, it's in Suwanee, Georgia, which is north of Atlanta at the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. The theme of this event is Black and Latino patients navigating lung cancer, stepping stones to equity. And the main ideal behind this event is that we wanted to bring stakeholders from all levels: patients, caregivers, researchers, clinicians, surgeons, payers, hospital systems, insurers, and pharma, to not just talk about the problems, because that's what we always do, but also talk about solutions and interventions that have been created that are reducing disparities, reducing inequities, and or improving outcomes. So we are roughly estimating 150 plus or more. We have a registration page, which is just tinyurl.com/LCHES. And that's just registration page. We will get an updated prospectus on at least our LinkedIn page today or tomorrow. And then we'll have an official page on our website probably late next week. I just want to make sure we have all of the
Wait,
last
can you
period.
repeat the tiny URL again? tinyurl.com dot slash
LCHES.
LCHS?
LCHES.
Okay.
And so that's registration. And then we have it on also my LinkedIn page. And we'll update it with the last set of speakers that we're confirming right now. And so really it's a 2-day event, really bringing in different topics. So we'll talk about patient experience, clinical trials, AI and screening and diagnosis, hospital systems, community engagement, non-traditional community engagement, uh, health equity, and then we'll also have a poster session so those that aren't speaking can also present their work, because our broader goal is to build and create a community for all these people to connect and network, to build together and make partnerships so that we can collectively help everyone advance. The
The QR code is right there, guys. If you want to do it for the Good Nation Foundation Inc., it's a second lung cancer health equity summit. So again,
we can person.
sharing is caring. I'm quick.
The other thing we're working to do is, the big thing we see is that a lot of patients don't see themselves represented in often the resources online or in infographics. And so there's two things we're working to do. One is we want to create a bunch of general medical infographics to help break down this complex terminology that is in my chart. Often my mom goes to the doc and they'll say, well, oh, well, your readouts are on page 5. One, they're not going to get to page 5. Two, my family doesn't even have a computer or a printer. And then these terms, they don't understand it. So we're working to hopefully with some public health students help us create these general medical infographics to break down this complex terminology that those in the workforce know, but we haven't got it converted to the public. And then we're working to create some general cancer infographics, and then infographics on at least one disparity in those infographics for underserved populations. And we're trying to include diverse representation, really talk about, just laying the foundation for what are these cancers, what is a disparity in a group. And then this is our foundational material that we'll start putting out at different events. And as we keep speaking to community groups, we'll just bring certain materials with us, and then we'll comprehensively start doing stuff for lung cancer next year. So we'll make a comprehensive set of things for lung cancer. And then, like I said, I don't know if we'll do it this year or next year, but we are going to also eventually launch a podcast that is focused on interviewing different people from diverse, underserved, underrepresented backgrounds that are in STEM fields or have left STEM fields. So while it is for the general public, it's really geared towards those kids in school so they can hear and see people that look like them at early ages, so they also know they can do this stuff without necessarily per se having to directly go to a science camp, just making them aware and exposing them. So
I
that's
like
sort of
that. I like
things.
that. It's more informational, and they can relate. So yes, I love that. Um, Yeah, I am very quick when it comes to. I'm like, what was that again? Let me get you a QR code. I'm quick because we need to have that. Now, I want to actually this comment right here. I want to address this, and then you can jump right on in as well. It says many STEM programs are teaching skills that will soon to be irrelevant due to the speed of change in technology. I'd say yes and no. There are programs like, for example, people are like, oh, I don't need to write because I have chat gpt, but keep this in mind. I know when you write chat gpt, especially when you're writing in my anthology, when you write in chat gpt doesn't know who you are. So when you're writing, it's very emotionless, very dry, very like, ugh, like it's not, it doesn't give me that good feeling that I can relate to you. So technology is not yet there. It is a tool that you can just use, just like Siri. Can you say, oh my god, I don't have to speak, Siri can speak for me? No. Right, it's that's how I see it. Yes, technology is there. Yes, AI is rapidly changing everything, but keep in mind that humans are still typing what they're doing. What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Manley?
So I actually concur. Well, yes, everyone now wants to use Chat GPT for the easy button, but the problem is Chat GPT is still based on the information that is already out there and who is creating that information. So guess what? If you're trying to look for something for underserved populations, it's not going to be populated in Chat
Nope.
GPT. So you have to start trying to create the information to make it pop up more in the algorithm. Now that being said, I don't even really use ChatGPT. I still am resistant, but sometimes I will pop something in chat just to sort of, if you're really in a writer's block, you just want to get a ideal, not so much what you're about, like, okay, just give me a talking point or something I can start. And then if I have something that I can't run, then I can run. But I never use ChatGPT to do my writing. I will say, okay, at the minimum, I say, okay, I need a thought and I just can't form like I want to come with an acronym. That's a great time to use ChatGPT. Like if you, hey, I want to do something on the ABC, can you come up with an acronym? That will save you a lot of time because that's effective. But if you're trying to use ChatGPT to write your thought leadership, your science, no, because especially as a scientist, we can always tell when something is written. I don't know how to describe it, but you can always tell when something is written with chat. It just the way it connects or lines up. It's just a weird. I can't describe it. You could always just tell the disconnect. And so really, you still have to practice your writing a lot. The only way you get good at writing is you have to keep practicing editing, refining, and in ChatGPT will not help you do that. Actually, will make you less likely to do it, and then your writing will never get the depth and breadth that it needs. Now, there are things that technology are making automation more regular, but there's still some jobs in bio that just can't be done with automation, and so there'll always be those positions. Like you can't really run a clinical trial on automation. You can't.
No,
Yeah,
no,
and
and
so
no. Yeah, I just, it's like going to a doctoral program. Yeah, I'm gonna get my doctorate all in Chat GPT. Okay, now if you're gonna do chapter four, Dr. Manley, you know what chapter four is, right? All the statistics, and then you're like explaining that to me, but ChatGPT calculated and wrote for you. So if I'm going to ask you questions and you can't answer because ChatGPT calculated it for you in your studies, especially if you have qualitative and quantitative studies all in hybrid, like how are you going to speak to that? And I'm going to know if you write it or not. And in
yep,
all of that 5 years that you did, 6 years that you did, you're gonna have to go back to square one because you can't speak to it. That's a waste of money. ChatGPT can't do that for you because you have
yep,
to present in person,
yep,
and you have panels of people who are experts in these things ask you questions and you can't answer.
yep.
Yeah.
So I think while some jobs may go away, there will still be jobs that cannot be done via automation or via AI. And I
Question
just
for you right here for Miss Shell. It says, are patients allowed to apply to be on the panel? I have extensive experiences in many aspects.
for
DM
lung
Manley.
cancer, for the lung cancer summit, we already have our patient panel set, but it is still free for patients to attend. So the event is free for patients, caregivers, survivors to attend. and then it scaled up for everyone else. Early registration deadline is September 29th. That is also the poster submission deadline. And so basically, for poster submission, it's the same URL, but just add literally the word poster after LCHES. And it's just a Google form. And we just ask for a 1,500 character abstract to be typed in the box. Like, I tried to make this easy so you don't need to upload a form or anything. Just I put the easy button for everyone.
Yeah, Susanna's like, yeah, it's a tool, not for writing machine. You can't trust it. I've seen people who write their life story as a in Chat GPT, and it's very cold. I don't see
Yeah.
the connection most of
And
the time.
I
I'm
will
like,
tell you something. I asked ChatGPT to do something about disparities. I was just having a laugh. And I said, give me references. And those references were not real. I was like,
oh my god, oh my god, you just reminded me. So I was in a class I was teaching, and I think it was business law class, and I we were researching, and there was a lawyer going to the judge, and he was arguing it, and he's like, wait, it's because it's Chat GPT. And the judge is like, I'm sorry, you coming in with your rebuttal from Chat GPT that doesn't
uh-huh.
exist
Yep.
on a case?
Yep. You
Don't do
know,
it, guys. Just
in
don't
this
do
case,
it.
like Chat GPT is like the weaker version of Wiki. It's like at least Wiki gives you the references that are actually generally real. But
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I can't
Well,
believe I just said that.
I know. Oh, we just did. Now, I want, before we end, I want to extrapolate as much information from you on what you're doing for our community and how, as a community, can we help you with your abilities to reach out for these communities out there that are underserved.
I guess just getting more awareness about what we're doing. We are slowly. We probably after I get through the summit, then we probably can start rolling out our volunteer program. It's just I've still been a party of one with my planning committee, but it's just trying to lay the foundation to have everything in place, and then we have a spot and need for volunteers. I'm trying to be cognizant of people's time. I don't want necessarily people to work for free. I really try to not use people's time, but we will need some people to either help with some of our back end social media, some of our grant writing, some of our social calendar. Because as with me being on the road a lot and speaking and presenting, I just do what I can, and I just have to sort of prioritize just on what's the most pressing deadline.
This is when you collaborate, Dr. Manley, right? Because you're a one man show just like me, but I collaborate in so many levels, and that's how I grow so fast.
Yep.
Because I'm only bringing people who are dedicated to themselves and dedicated to getting their mission out there within the community, right? Because we can't do it ourselves. We have a lot of ideas in our heads, and we're doing a lot of programs, but in all honesty, we cannot do it ourselves. We need everybody's help because we don't have everybody's skills. We have our own skills, and we focus on those skills. And so that is when you collaborate with communities. And this is why Hounds of Business Community and Level Up Academy is good for you and for businesses and people who have missions like yourself, because we can help you amplify your message that way, right? And
Yes.
marketing is expensive, but I do a lot of free stuff for people like you who have the heart, the passion, and that you're soul hearted. You're not heart centered. People are like, oh, heart centered. No, no, no. Heart centered people, yes, I know you're out there, but heart centered people, most of the time that I've seen, is all about talk and no action.
Yep.
I want action people who are out there in their community doing, rolling their sleeves and going for it. And that is the passion that you have exude within your soul, and you're pouring your heart out. And that's what I call soul hearted individuals. It's like it's unstoppable. Even if we're like, okay, I think I took a nap for 45 minutes, let me go get it again, right?
Get back to it. Yep. Because if you don't do it, it may not get done. And it's all about who are we helping and what do we feel like we've accomplished. And that's always the fundamental thing. I think of who am I helping? I don't care about me. It's like, am I helping people understand or get resources to help them either navigate a disease, learn about a career, learn about a career path? And that's always what I've been committed to. And maybe it's just because I grew up in Detroit and just saw what it was like when you don't have it.
Yeah, that's so true. That's why we're dedicated to do that. Now, to end this, I want your favorite quote, Dr. Manley.
Oh Lord, I did not expect this. Oh my God.
Or last minute message. What is your last minute message to our viewers? We hit about 1,300 here today.
I guess we do a last minute quote. Just always believe in what you're doing and why you're doing it. And if you keep that fundamentally at your core and center, eventually other people will see your work and you will build the network and partners to help propel you forward. And if you have people that are naysayers or negative, you just have to learn to start cutting those people out because they will just keep you down. They will keep you down.
Okay, I have three words for that. Return to sender. Listen, if you're sending me negative energy, I'm returning it back to you, bro. I'm not taking it. Sorry. Like, I'm not doing it. Bye. That's what I say. Return to sender. I'm not doing it. It's just some people are like that, and it's like we're always gonna have those types of people, and that's okay. I've accepted it, but I'm returning it back to you. I have this wall right here. Today, my favorite quote from is from Maya Angelou, and it says, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel."
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Manley. I appreciate you. We love you, and I cannot wait to show you off on our next quarter's Level Up Magazine Circle.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you for being here, Michelle. All right.